Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a morning of stamping. I am Sarah Simon, coming to you from Appleton, Wisconsin, and I am so relaxed and refreshed from my vacation. Thank you to all of you who wished me well because, oh my goodness, it was a great vacation. So we've got Julie and Amanda and Becky and Kelly and Myra, Denise, Debbie, Dee, Karen, Nancy, Michelle, Mary, Julie. Thank you guys all for joining me. Let me see if I have anybody on Facebook. Diane, a couple of Dianes. I've got three Dianes in a row on my comments. So welcome to all of you. And it looks like Mentita. Good morning, everyone. Betty, Ann, and I think I said hello to Amanda already. So good morning, Sarah and Karen. Oh my goodness, lots of people jumping on here. I had a fabulous vacation. I just have to let you know that. I spent the week in Siesta Key. My parents were there for 5 weeks, and I was on the tail end the last week that they were there. So we had gorgeous weather. My mom and I spent an hour together each morning in the pool. We would do she walks in the pool and I would do all kinds of different exercises and swim and stuff. It was fabulous. And then my mom's not as much of a beach person, but my dad and I then would go to the beach for an hour to 2 hours. I read I read three books and only have 50 pages left on my fourth book that I brought with me. So I really spent a lot of time just relaxing. We celebrated their 58th wedding anniversary on Tuesday while we were there. And Saturday, we were just sitting watching basketball, and all of a sudden, my mom's phone rang, and it was a FaceTime, and it was my nephew, who's my godson, and he ended up getting engaged. And so they were calling to let us know that they got engaged. So that was super exciting. And then at the same time, my other brother's Doug, his daughter was in labor. So her water broke, I want to say our time in Florida was about 7 o'clock. We found out that her water broke and they were on their way to the hospital. By the time they got to the hospital, she started pushing immediately. And I'm going to show you a quick little picture. My great niece, remember we made the bee baby picture, not or card, not too long ago. I finally get to send that out. But my niece, let me find a picture here to share with you. This is, let me introduce you to Bernadette Olivia. She came in at 8 pounds and 20 inches. She's an absolutely beautiful baby. Last night, my brother FaceTimed me. He was babysitting all by himself because they ran out to do something, and he was super, super excited. So he FaceTimed me so I could see her live. Yeah, she is a cutie, Karen. We are just so excited. The only bad thing about all of this is that they live in Arizona. And so it's going to be a while before I get to snuggle with that baby because they are coming this way from the middle of June until about the middle of July. And so I cannot wait to snuggle with her, but just loved her name. It's such a big name for such a cute little peanut, but oh my gosh, we are just in love. We're coming up with little nicknames. So her initials are Bob, and so we called her Bob. We found out that Bernadette in French means strong bear, so we called her Little Bear. Last night I just called her B when I was asking my brother, how is B? And so anyway, it's so fun to have another little baby in the family again. Anyhow, I wanted to share with you. I also got home before I left. I had some happy mail, and then I got home to some more happy mail. So I thought I would start by sharing that with you. So I received this St. Patrick's Day card. Isn't that cute? This is an older stamp set that we had, and also some retired paper. I loved that paper when we had it. It was a big bundle. And then look at this cute little, what do you call this? Like a popper. that has, I haven't even broken into it to eat the chocolate. This was from Robin Schulke. She's on my team. And I received, I have to look to see who this is from. I think I know. Yeah, this is from Kathy Kessler. Love that. Look at that gray and black along with the pool party. Just an absolutely beautiful card. And then I saw Julie on here. Julie sent me this beautiful card. This was a layout that I had done not too long ago where it kind of flips and flops the way you make that. And she was thanking me. She won our last creative challenge, which I was thinking, I think it's almost time for another one of those. Maybe next week we'll do that. But she ended up winning the Everyday Arches. So she was thanking me for that and for the inspiration. And then this is from Anna Rebidu. She was congratulating me on my new job. So thank you very much for that. And I received this from Brooke Van Buskirk. This is a thank you card for something that I had sent her. And then I received this thank you from Tammy Marquardt. She received one of my stamp set drawings. Look at that. That was the baby card that I made was this fold. How fun is that? And then I'm not going to open up the inside of this, but Kathy Miller, look at this. She made all of the bridal shower invitations for her daughter's shower. Is that not adorable? The inside is just all the details for the shower, but I thought that was absolutely, that's that flower cart, which I don't have that, but oh my goodness, it is so gorgeous. I think there may have been some other card. I had so much mail when I got home that I haven't even got through it at all. So yes, Diane, we had so much fun. Yeah, we had it was just very relaxing. We just kind of did what we wanted to do and we just had a lot of fun. So thank you guys all for the happy mail. I do have prizes to give away as well. So 2 weeks ago when we were here, we made this cross card that stands up. That was an Easter card. So it looks like a cross. And we have Happy Easter on the back. We made this little treat box. It's a little pizza box that has some little crackers in it, or sweets in it, cookies, I guess they are. And then we also did that, what is it called? Faux shutter or fractured something or other sympathy card that a bunch of you helped with picking out colors for. And receiving these for commenting 2 weeks ago is Sarah Van Camp. So Sarah, I'm not sure if I have your address. So if you see this, if you want to send me a private message with your address, I will get those in the mail to you. I think I have it, but I'm not positive. And I didn't get a chance to look. And then for sharing. So anytime you share, what I do is I end up putting your name into a drawing. And same thing with comments. I put your name into a drawing, and then the winner ends up, let me see, I don't think I'm frozen. I am on my iPad, but let me close that up and let me reopen it back up. Okay, I think I'm good. Okay, it must have just been on my iPad. Sorry. All of a sudden, I have my iPad up just to make sure that I'm live, and all of a sudden it was frozen. So I'm like, oh gosh, don't tell me I'm frozen. A lot of you have jumped on and I didn't say hello. I apologize for that. Um, anyway, receiving a pack of the Baker's Twine Essential Pack. So I think I was saying, I put your name into a drawing, or actually I assign you all a number. I randomly pick a number and that person ends up winning a prize. Now, when I did that, the person I picked is actually from Canada, Sonia. So Sonia, if you would send me a private message with your email, I would be happy to give you one of my tutorials that has a video along with all of the dimensions for cutting and putting cards together. I would be happy to send that to you for free for winning as well. So I had to pick somebody else because I can't send product to Canada. And the person number that came up after that was Melanie Foy. So Melanie, I will get these off in the mail to you. And then for placing an order, I'm not sure how I'm going to change. I haven't had a host code for a while, and I've just kind of been using some of my own benefits that I get. Like I get quarterly kind of amounts that I get to spend. And I've been kind of purchasing things with that yet. And I also have some celebration things to give away. But placing an order, receiving this pick a season, which is has these trees and it has hearts and clovers and eggs for Easter, and it has flowers. It's got a couple of different trees that you can make. Receiving this is Anna May. So Anna, I will get this off in the mail to you. So thank you to all of you who ordered. Um, oh my gosh, Becky. So Lila, my mom said my brother picked us up from the airport and we were almost an hour late getting in. We only left like about 10 minutes late, but they had to go around some storms that were in Tennessee. And then when we got to the airport, because we were a little bit late, somebody else was at our gate. So then we had to wait about 15 minutes to get out. And so, and then by the time you get deplane and stuff like that, it was almost an hour that we were late. And so my brother dropped me off. My mom said, I'm going to let you go in first. Lila's my golden doodle, for those of you that don't know. So I went in the garage door and opened it. And when she saw me, she was like all over me. But then here's the thing, she hadn't seen my mom and dad for more than 5 weeks. And she sees them usually weekly. And so we had gone over to their house to water the flowers and stuff. And when we did that, she was looking for them and they weren't there. Oh, she heard her name and now she's here. She would go in the house and they weren't there. And she was like, oh my gosh, where are they? So I stopped bringing her because I felt like that was more torture to her than it was to bring her, because it wasn't a treat for her to go to the house and look for them and they weren't there. So then she saw my mom and dad and she went even more nuts. She almost knocked my mom right over because she was so excited to see her. So anyhow, yeah, she was excited. So, couple of things that have happened in Stampin' Up. So, since I was gone. So those of you who are demonstrators, we were able to do our pre-order. And so there's online exclusives that are going live on May 5th. There's also a new catalog going live on May 5th. So when I came home to boxes of catalogs that I have to get sent out in the mail. I'm going to try to work on that this weekend. My goal is to try to get them to go out on Monday, but I also have a card buffet next weekend that I haven't gotten the cards out because I don't have them all done yet. I have a few more that I have to make and I couldn't push it any further before I left for vacation. And so I have to finish those up. Then I have to get my newsletter off so that you can pick your cards. So I'm going to do my best, but there are only so many hours in a day. So, but I am refreshed. So I feel like I'm ready to get to work. So, those catalogs, if you've ordered from me, and a couple of you have asked, can I get a catalog from you? Absolutely. Just send me a private message with your address if you've never received anything from me in the past, and I would be happy to get that catalog off in the mail to you. The other thing that's happened is our last chance list has gone out. And so I did list a link to that on my shopping cart where you can go shopping, so that you can see what those items are. I'm going to try, like I said, there's only so many hours in the day, but I am going to try, if possible, to go live on Sunday for a little bit. Once I get a chance to go through the annual catalog, I will let you know like what's staying on, carrying over to the new catalog, but also what things are reduced right now. So if it's something that you want, or if it's something that it's going away, um, you know. So when I got home last night, I had one card that I had to make, and I had a lot of creativity going because I hadn't done anything for a week. And so I had been in a swap that I sent out right before I left. It arrived while I was gone. And so one of the cards in there, it was all fun folds. And I'm like, okay, I want another fun fold. So I picked one of the cards. It came to me really quickly. And then this morning, when I was starting to get ready, I'm like, oh, you know what? I should check. Is boho blue still available? Because I use it in the card. And you know what? The paper is not. So those colors that are retiring, you got to check those out. If there's some of them that you want, if you want to re-inker, if you want any of that kind of stuff, make sure you check that right away. That would be the first thing I would look for. And then I ended up on the card that I made before I left, I used paper that's on the last chance list. And I'm like, oh, please let it still be available so I don't have to make something else. And it was. So what I did this morning when I woke up is I ended up just redoing the exact same card I did last night in some different colors. And so I'm not using anything that's retired. So I think it's time to get stamping because that's what you're here for, right? Let me go ahead and switch over to my phone. Yep, it is live. Okay. And I'm going to turn off my overhead light so that you don't see so many shadows. That will get rid of those shadows. Look at how they just disappear, right? Okay, so for our first card, this was the card that I received in the swap. This is from Sue Kempter Miller. And it was different. Usually with this type of card, you usually flip it up this way and then you flip this down. This one is one of those kind of like a barn door type card that she made this way instead. So that was new to me. I loved that I had the dimensions so that all of this, these are those, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there's a little design texture around each of those. So she cut this so that it would easily layer with the dies that came from our textured notes dies. Okay, now hers, she used the spring corners and she put a piece in here to write your little message. I used this inside part in my card for my message. So let's take a look at the dimensions for this and the card that we're going to make. All right, let's see here. So I'm going to start with, and I'm going to have to go away, and I haven't really been good at, I've looked to see if there were any comments that are questions. I don't think I see any questions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my banners so I can give you the dimensions. So our card base is 8.5 by 5.5. I scored it at 4.25, and I'm going to cut off 3 inches from the front of the card. So I wanted to do that with you so you could see how I did that. Right, so this is at 4.25 is where my score line is. So I'm going to put that in the track. So I'm going to line that up at 4.25. And along the side here, I have the dimensions as well. And I have 2 trimmers, and this is my trimmer that I don't have the paper in. But usually what you can do, and this is like a little trick, I can actually, why don't we just do it with mine so that you can see what you can do. What you can do is you can take, this is just some tear and tape. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a really long strip and I'm going to set it right inside of the track of my paper cutter. It's exactly the width that you need it to be. And I'll go ahead and tear that part off there. And now look at how easily you can see those dimensions along the side because you have white behind it instead of having just the clear. So that is a way that you can, it's just kind of a little tip that helps you to see those numbers just a little bit clearer. Right, so I'm gonna again set this in at 4.25. I'm gonna start at the top and I'm gonna go down till I get to 3 inches along the side here. So I'm just gonna cut until I get to 3 inches. Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and put this at 3 inches. And I'm going to start at my 4.25, and I'm just going to cut the other way to cut that off. Okay, so that's how I made that little bottom piece. Now, why did I do 3 inches? Or why did she probably do 3 inches? Well, the designer paper then that you would use is 2 inches wide. And so you could get 6 of those in a 12 by 12 sheet. So it's nice when you are able to do it so that you can get the most out of your designer paper. Joan, you did that too. I know. I'd have 2 I have two paper trimmers, and one ended up being at school for some projects that I had to do at school. And so the other one is here. And for some reason, I didn't have it done on that one. I don't know why. Okay, so then we are also going to need, this is Calypso Coral, by the way. We're also going to have a piece of Calypso Coral that measures 8 by 2.5. And I'm going to score that at 4 inches so that it makes that piece that opens up on the inside. All right, I have a piece of Daffodil Delight that measures 4 by 5.25. And then I have a piece of Basic White that measures 3 3/4 by 5. Now, what I did with this, can you see that texture on there? It kind of looks like it's dirty. It's not really dirty. It's very texturized. I used from our patterns, we're going to use our Patterns of Friendship bundle. Okay, so we're going to use our greeting from here. And I used this die right here. It just makes textures. It doesn't cut anything out. And what I did was I ran it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine twice. So I ran it through so that the lines went this way, and then I turned the paper this way so that the lines went the other way, so that it made sort of some squares rather than just lines. You could do it either way. So that is what I did to get that little bit of texture. So in the card that she made, she stamped on that. I decided instead of stamping, I wanted to just give it some texture. You could also use an embossing folder. You could do anything you want. You could just do another piece of color. She just did one layer. I'm doing two. I'm layering this on top of each other. So you can kind of design it how you want. All right. Then also in Daffodil, I have a piece that's 4 by 2.25. And then from our mixed media floral, this is 3 3/4 by 2. This is where I said you can now get 6 of these because it's by 2 and our paper is 12 inches. Okay, so that is going to go on there. And then I cut out, this is one of the dies that's in Daffodil Delight. This is another one of the dies that is in Basic White. And then I have another Basic White layer for my inside that's 2 3/8 by 3 7/8. Okay, so I decided to do mine just a little bit different than she did. I'm going to go back to your comments. Let me hide this because we're done with that. There's a few more comments. I just ordered this bundle. Oh, good. I'm glad that you ordered that and that I'm using it. It's just greetings on here, and the greetings on here were so cute that I thought I'm going to go ahead and use that, and I wanted to use it with the die. Now I'm pairing it with, I needed something else because there were just words, and so I'm pairing it with our Happiest Days. This is on our last chance list. I love this stamp set. So I was going to use this greeting, but I decided to use a greeting from the Patterns of Friendship. But I wanted to use this dragonfly, and then I used these little star type things, asterisks they kind of look like, as well. But this is on the last chance, Happiest Day, and this morning it was still available. I did check. So that is what we're going to be using. And then again, the dies that I used to cut those rectangles came from our Textured Notes. Okay, and the one that I used, I count these from the inside. This is my number 1, 2, 3, and 4. I used 3 and I used 4 for that one. Actually, no, I used 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, I used 3 and 4. Oh my goodness, I couldn't remember. All right, let's do some stamping. We're going to do some stamping on the inside piece and the outside piece. I also have a scrap of white that we're going to be using. And what is this for? Oh, that's what I just cut off of there. So you could use this for something else if you wanted to. I just cut it off of the front of the card. All right, this is our outside. And for the outside, I haven't technically made this in this color yet. I made it in a different color, which I'll show you when we're done. But for the outside, I'm going to use the saying that says, Thinking of you brings a smile to my face. And then on the inside, we're just going to say happy birthday because we're thinking of them on their birthday. And it does just make you smile, right? When you think of somebody on their birthday. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, layer this up. Back to having to stamp over a camera. Thinking of you brings a smile to my face. And then on the inside, we're going to stamp that happy birthday. Make sure I have this straight. I like to use my grid paper so that I can line everything up. All right. And then, isn't that a fun font? I love the font. Okay, then I'm going to use that the little asterisk-y star thing that we had from the happiest day. And I'm going to stamp off and just put some of those all over here. So it's just very faint. And I'll hold it up closer to the camera so that you can see. And I'm also going to put some on here. Okay, so we've just got, can hardly see those. Just adds a little bit of that yellow inside of there. All right, and then on our scrap, we're going to take that dragonfly. So I'm going to do the body or the outline. I'm going to do the outline in the memento. And I'm going to do 2 of them on here. And no, I'm just going to do 1 of those. I need 2. Oh, goodness. I had to look at my sample. And I'm going to do 1 down here. All right. And then you have the little wings that you can color those in. So I'm going to do the top wing in the Calypso Coral. And there's one end that's a little bit flatter and one that's more rounded. The more rounded goes on the top. All right, I'll bring this one in. Now on the sample that I did, the colors that I used, I ended up stamping off once, making it a little bit lighter. But with these colors, I felt I needed it a little bit darker, so I decided not to. Now this one too has one that's a little bit more like rounded at the end and a little bit flatter. The flatter one goes on the inside. All right, and that is all. I think I'm going to do a dragonfly on the outside of my envelope because I didn't grab any paper. So I'm going to do another one of those just in the corner of the envelope here. You could do a couple of them if you wanted to. I think 1 is enough. All right, and then the little one. All right, so our envelope is all ready to go, and we can close up all of this stuff and put our stamps away so I don't end up dropping something in. All right, before we start putting together, let's take a scissors and let's go ahead. I'm going to fussy cut. There are no dies for this. This is just a standalone stamp set. It is not on sale. It's not one of the sale items that are on the last chance list, but once they are out of these, it's while supplies last. So Stampin' Up! Changed their policy. So it used to be that they would make like a retirement list. And some of the things on retirement list were reduced and some of them were not. And they were while supplies last, but they also said that if you didn't purchase them by a certain date, that then they would no longer be available for purchase. Well, what happened is if they didn't sell everything, they sat with those things in their warehouse. And then maybe about 6 months later, they would reduce, they would have, okay, here's our clearance list. And these are things that we have sitting in our warehouse that didn't sell by that certain date. And now what we're doing is we're reducing them, and then all of a sudden they would show up again. Well, instead of doing that, what they decided to do was to go to this new policy, which is we're putting them on our last chance list and they will stay on last chance until they're sold out. So even if the new catalog starts on May 5th, and usually then by May 4th, those things would no longer be available after that, they will still be on the last chance list until they're gone now. The only thing that's really hard, I find, is that with online exclusives and catalogs and everything else, to try to keep track of what's current and what's not gets to be a little bit difficult. I don't know if anyone else is figuring that out. So I'm trying to find a way to help myself to know what is still available. I'm just taking some Wink of Stella and adding that to the wings of my dragonfly. Did I call this a butterfly before? I meant dragonfly, if I did, because I almost just said butterfly, and I'm like, I wonder if I said that before. I'm doing all of the Calypso coral, making sure I don't have any of that in the brush before I go back and do the Daffodil Delight. So that is kind of what they're doing. That's a little bit different with Last Chance. So I'm hoping to try to get a handle on all of it and then try to share it with you. Donna likes the old wood dragonfly stamp from Stampin' Up. I think I remember that. I think it's a little bit bigger and I think it has some different designs in it, if I remember correctly, Donna. All right, let's go ahead and put this together. So I'm going to layer this white. I haven't used my glue for 2 weeks. Let's see if it decides it wants to come out. Probably have to get a pin just to get the little booger that forms in there out. It does not want to come out. Let's go ahead and just use, I used snail last night. That's what I'm going to do. Or seal, plus seal, Stampin' Seal. So I'm just going all the way out to the edges to make sure that it doesn't curl and that it stays attached. And I'm going to attach that to the yellow. Okay, and then we'll go ahead. I was going to use this side and color in those flowers, but heck. There we go. All right, and then we have this getting attached to this. I don't know what I did to that one. Just batting 1,000 here. All right, then we're going to put this on the inside. I just, right before I left, I ordered a whole bunch of liquid glue. I never like to order liquid glue in the winter because if it sits in my house all day out in the cold, I feel like the consistency of it when it freezes and then thaws again, I feel like that changes. And so I like to, in the fall, order a whole bunch of glue, and then I don't order anything during the winter. Well, at my last card buffet, I realized I hardly had any glue left, and I'm like, okay, I have to order some liquid glue. So I ordered, I think, 15 bottles of it. And so I have a whole bunch of it now. I just didn't get a new one before I started today. And we're going to go ahead and put this down here. Isn't that fun, paper? What? Okay, then we're just going to add adhesive to the back of this. And I'm going to center that on here without worrying about the front, because the front will just fall into place where it needs to be. So I'm just kind of centering this. Right, and then that will pop in there like that. Okay, so that you have to open it this way and this way, just like the sample that I had. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to kind of curl these a little bit with my fingers. Thanks, Julie. Yeah, I got this, like I said, I got this in a swap and I thought, oh my goodness, I like this. Yeah, adhesives are being uncooperative. That happens every once in a while, right? Okay, I'm going to take a mini dimensional. You know, when I can stamp all day and nothing happens, nothing like that happens, but the minute I go live, it's going to happen. So I'm going to put one of those there. I'm going to do the same thing, kind of just use my fingers here a little bit to curl those wings. And then in the body part, I'm just going to set that down there. All right, and then let's add a little bling. So on the one that I made, I used our iridescent rhinestones, but I think on this I might use some of the yellow on here. Just pop a little bit of yellow in. All right, let's see here. So we've got, we'll put one up here. I think I'm going to use all little ones in this case. We'll put one down there. I think I'll put one, maybe I'll put it up here. That's a good place. Any place where there's a little bit of white showing. All right, let me put this back. There is our finished card, and we have our envelope that matches it. Thinking of you brings a smile to my face, and happy birthday. All right, just a little bit of that texture, and this kind of looks textured as well with the painting. Here was the one that I did until I found out that boho blue was gone. Okay, so what I did with this one is this is Flirty Flamingo in boho blue. This is from the same mixed media floral designer series paper. And here I just stamped off with the boho blue and the Flirty Flamingo, just to kind of give it some of the different shades of blue and pink that were in the designer paper. So there's two different colors of the exact same card. And this again was my inspiration for this fold that folded like that. So there's three different cards, well, these two are kind of the same. All right, just in different colors, but here's another card using that fold. So it's kind of a different fold for me. Like I said, when I've done these before, I've done where the bottom folds down instead of folding to the opening up to the side. Okay, so what I would do is I would have it be where I scored it at at 5.5, and I would cut a little piece off the end, and this would flip down because my score line would be down here. So this is just a little bit different with putting it off to the side. All right, so there is our card number 1. And again, thank you to Sue Kempter Miller for the inspiration from her swap card that helped me to come up with this design or this fold. All right, let me clear things out here a little bit and swap in the next items that I need, which are sitting over on my counter. Let me pop them over here. And we'll look at this. And I need ink pads. I think that's all I need. Put this over here. There's a lot for this one. Okay, so this is the To Market Designer Series paper. So on one side, we have really bold, different vegetables and flowers. Okay, and then this is on the last chance list, and it is also discounted. So this is $8.75 right now while supplies last. And then on the back side, we have all of these different shades. So I did a swap card before I left for vacation. It was not this exact card, but I didn't want to do the exact card because I had just done a card similar to that about a week or so ago, and I didn't want you to see basically the same stamp set with the same papers and all of that kind of stuff. So I ended up switching it up just a little bit than the card that I made for my swap. I also haven't used this stamp set for my lives, so I wanted to also uh, I just wanted to make sure that I use this. I'm just checking to make sure I did not miss any questions. Okay, I don't think so. All right, this is called It's Okay. There's this butterfly stamp and this greenery stamp. We're going to use those. And then there are some different greetings that have some cool different fonts. So we're going to be using this one. It's enough if all you did today was survive. And we're going to use this one. Inhale, exhale. Um, it's okay to sit and simply feel how you feel. That's another beautiful one. Take your time. I'm here when you're ready. It's kind of for one of those where you have somebody that's going through a really difficult time and you just want to let them know that you're there for them. And it's okay that if they're not up to 100% because of what they're going through. And so it's kind of a neat stamp set. I'm also going to be using, I wanted to show you, so the card that I made for my swap used the textured notes dies, and I'm like, I don't want to use the textured note dies for both of them. So for this one, I ended up using the everyday arches instead of the textured notes. So the one that we're going to be using is the third from the largest, and then I think it's the third. It's the third or the second. Let me look here. It's the second. The second from the smallest. So we're going to use one of these to be our base, and then we're going to put our greeting on the inside of it, and those will match up. So those are the sizes that I used if you wanted to replicate this card. All right, let's go ahead. I'll put these stamp sets off to the side with the paper, and let's go ahead and take a look at our dimensions. And I'm going to need some more adhesive. Let me grab a Stampin' Seal to replace because I think I'm about ready to run out. So I've got one of those to replace if I need to. All right, let me go back to my dimensions. And this is where we're going to start with that. So this is 8.5 by 5.5. And I scored it at 2 1/8, at 4 1/4, and 6 3/8. Or it's 2 1/8 from each end and then 4 1/4. However you want to take a look at it. That's what we would have. Then I have a piece that is 8 1/4 by 1 3/4. And I scored it at 2 1/8 and 3 1/8 and 5 1/8 and 6 1/8. This is going to be our little mechanism that allows our card to kind of pop out and stand up. All right, then I have the designer paper. So this is from the To Market. It's got the little tomatoes on the back, but it has this really cool green with kind of a lighter green in the background. And so this is soft sea foam, if you're wondering what color that is. These each measure 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. Oh, and I need 2 basic whites that measure the same. Let me quickly cut those here. So 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. And we need 2 of those. That's just going to be my back where you can write a message. And you don't necessarily have to have that, but it's nice to have it so that you have something to write on so you're not writing directly on the card. Okay, and that's it. Let me hide this. And we'll go back to the comments so I can see them. All right. So good morning, Bonnie. Okay, Lisa's not frozen. You must be a little bit behind me, maybe, Lisa. Okay, so this is another soft sea foam. This is that third from the largest. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp on that. And we're going to stamp on this. And I think we're going to stamp on here as well. So what I want to do is I want to use, let me grab these two and this and these. These are the things we have to stamp on. What I have is some, whoops, sorry, I just bumped the camera. I have some garden green. I have some fresh freesia, that's what this is. And then we're going to also be using some Versamark. So this is just a scrap for right now. Let's go ahead and start with our Versamark. On the garden green, I'm going to use, we have a little embossing kit that comes with, I don't have the brush in here, but it comes with a little reverse tweezers, comes with a embossing buddy, comes with this little tray, and then you also have a little brush that I don't have in there right now. I have one of the little embossing buddies, and I'm just going to rub that along my garden green. And what that does is it takes away like all of your little fingerprints that might be on there, so that when you add the Versamark ink and you put the powder on it, the powder just sticks to the Versamark and it doesn't stick to any of the little oils from your fingers or anything like that. So let's see, I'm going to set this over here and try to remember that's over there. All right. I'm going to take It's Enough If All You Did Do Today Is Survive. And I'm going to ink that up in Versamark and stamp that. And then I'm going to use my Wow White embossing powder. Looks like I got a little bit of the stamp edges. So I'm just going to take my nail and just kind of right where that is, take that off. This I would heat emboss to set it so that it would get nice and layered. And then I would take that second from the smallest die and die cut that out. And this is what you end up getting through the magic of TV. All right. Why did I do that instead of cutting the die ahead of time? For this one, it's a lot easier. If I'm going to reuse, if I want to use this, I'm going to heat set it. It's a lot easier to cut it from here than it is to center it on here and then emboss it. So I would take a scrap, stamp it, add your powder, heat emboss it, and then cut it out. It just makes it a lot easier. Right. Let me put the Versamark and all this heat embossing stuff, get that out of the way because I don't need it for anything else. We have that done. All right. What I'm going to do on here is I'm going to use this leafed image and I'm going to create a background. Thanks, Donna. Yeah, I really like, I don't use it all this time, but I really do like this soft sea foam. And I'm just going to stamp the greenery here. I'm going to do that there. And I'm just going to turn it around in different ways to add sort of a background with these leaves. Okay, and it's okay, that's a little bit, we're going to put our greeting right there, so it's okay that there's not as much right in that spot. All right, I'm also going to stamp one of those on the bottom of one of these. And then on this, I wanted to use the inhale, exhale, but it doesn't fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the inhale, clean it, and then I'm going to do the exhale. So you can use tape, so I could take some Scotch tape and cover the exhale so that I could just dip it wherever I want. I'm going to just try to go very close and go a little bit further in. And I just want to get that period. Okay, I've got it. So I'm going to do the inhale. All right, then I'm going to clean it with my chamois that I just set over on the other side. So I remembered that I put it there. It was in the way. And then I'm going to do the exhale. And I'm going to just do that down a little ways and over to the right side so that it's inhale and exhale. And I think I might also put another little piece of the greenery down in the corner here. Okay, that's going to be the back so that I have where I can write a greeting. Let's do this. Let's make that same background design on the back of our envelope here. Oops. I think I'm going to go this way. And then we'll go like that. Right, so we've got that same look from the inside of our card going on the back flap of our envelope. If you wanted to, you could, let's take our fresh freesia and put a little butterfly on the front. And I'm going to stamp a butterfly on this little scrap of fresh freesia that I have as well. Just want it to be really light. This is very monochromatic, but I was like, I want a little pop of color with the greens. And so I really liked how this fresh freesia looked with the greens. All right, let me see what we've got to do here yet. We've got to cut this out. I'm going to go ahead again and grab my scissors. And we have to fussy cut. There is not a die for this, but it's super easy to fussy cut this butterfly. You could also, if you don't like to fussy cut, if you have one of our butterfly dies, you could go ahead and cut one of those out and use a different stamp set. I wanted to just kind of stay within this stamp set and use what I had here. All right, you know what I might do is I might add one of the butterflies on here as well. Just thought of that while I was cutting. Let's go ahead and add a butterfly up there. All right, that fills that up a little bit, and then I don't have to write as much. Let's see. Okay. All right, I think we have everything that we need to put this card together. We do. Let me set all of this stuff over here. All right, so how this fold is going to work is you want to start by making a W. So this is going to be the top part of our W, so I'm going to fold that. Okay, so that's that top peak of the W. And now I need these pieces to come like that so that it makes an actual W. Okay, so do you see that W? Yep, I think you can see it from the top. On the two end panels, we're going to be placing these, and I'm out of adhesive, so I had just gotten one. Go ahead and replace that. Helps if you put it the right way. There we go. I'm going to have a little sticky there, but that's all right. Try to avoid it. So we're going to place this here. And this one on the other side. Okay, and then our back, where we're going to write our greeting, I'm going to put this on one in the middle. And this on the other side. Now, if you wanted to, you could line all 4 panels. It's entirely up to you what you want to do. This is just the back. Okay, so this is what they're going to see in the front. This, and then they'll have to turn it over to see your greeting. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to place this on the front, but we want it to pop out and stand up. So to use that, we're going to use this little mechanism that we created with this piece. What you want to do is you want to fold this so it looks like a T. So this middle section you want to be the flat part of your T. Okay, so that's going to look like this. You're going to have these come in and fold it down so it looks like a T. All right, see how that looks like that? It's in the shape of a T. So what I want to do is I want to reinforce all of these with my bone folder. And the place where you need to add your adhesive is on the outside part of your T. So what's going to happen is this is going to get put inside of here like that. So it's going to be glued on the inside. And then what we're going to do is we're going to attach this to that piece on the outside. Okay, so this right here is going to be what I attach that to. So I need my glue at the beginning to attach that is going to be on the downside part of where that T is. Now, if you feel like, oh, I think I need to use tear and tape on this because I need it to be sturdier, you can. I think I did for the swaps that I made because I wanted to make sure that they did not fall apart. But I think that our Stampin' Seal is actually pretty sturdy. So I'm just going to go ahead and set that in there, go all the way to the back crease where that W is, and just give this a good press. See what that looks like on the side there. Make sure that that sticks good. So if you're using liquid glue, you want to hold this in place until that glue dries. And how that's going to do is now that's going to stand up and that's going to pop this up out in front. Okay, when I attach this, I want this to be along the bottom. I don't want it centered because what will happen if you center it, it's going to be top heavy and your card's going to fall over. So if you have this along the bottom so that it's resting on the bottom when it pulls out, then the fact that it's actually resting on the ground makes it so that it will not tip over. If it's up here, it's likely going to tip forward, especially if you put a couple of layers on it like I did in some of the samples that I'll share with you afterwards. So to try to line this up, what is really easy to use is to bring your paper trimmer in. So I'm going to bring my paper trimmer in. Before I do that, let's go ahead and let's see. I want this when it's folded to be like that. So the inhale and the exhale. So what I want to do is I want to add my adhesive. And again, if you want to use tear and tape here, you could. I'm just making sure that I put a lot of adhesive on it. I want to make sure that the top is up here and that this is the bottom along here. And I'm going to set this in my trimmer so that it's flat against the top. I'm going to make this flat against there so that it's going to stop it's going to stand up. And then I'm going to check to make sure I'm even on the right and the left. And you can kind of, whoops, I'm not in here enough. There we go. Okay, I'm even on the right and the left. Everything's pushed up to the top. And now I'm just going to press it on that center piece so that what happens, get that out of here, is that this will stand up. So they're going to get it like this. See how it's flush against the bottom, and it will stand up so that you can see it'll look like this and pop out. Okay. I never saw this one before either, Karen Karst. I ended up seeing this online and I'm like, oh, I've got to do that. And I'll show you what I made with it the first time. I think somebody used the Garden of Thanks stamp set when they did it. And I decided to do it with the textured notes. So those of you that ended up buying that kit from me, you ended up having 2 cards that we made with that. Actually, I'm going to go like this. So before I put this on, let me back up the bus here. I wanted a little bit of ribbon. So this is our textured ribbon. Now you could color this with a Stampin' Blend marker if you wanted to. I decided just to leave it white. I'm going to fold it over just kind of like that. And I'm just going to add a little bit of tape. To the center of that. And this is just going to go right there like that so that these are kind of hanging off the edge. I'm going to just move this up a little bit. There we go. And I can set that right there. I'm going to put a dimensional on either side of my ribbon. I'm going to trim this ribbon a little bit when I'm done. Okay, so we're going to put that there. I think I need to put this down a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to line the edge of my greeting up to the edge of this. Like that. And we're just going to trim these a little bit. Okay. And then we've got our butterfly, which again, just like I did with the dragonflies, I'm just going to loosen that up a little bit. I'm also going to take my Wink of Stella and color in the wings to give it kind of an airy look. I was thinking you could also probably do this with vellum, but if you stamp on vellum, you would have to do it in black, and I kind of liked the purple. And I'm going to set that like about right there. So again, I'm going to take a mini dimensional, put it up towards the top. I kind of like the head of the butterfly, and just kind of set it there. Okay, so it's enough if all you do today is survive. So they could set that up. And then on the back, inhale, exhale, and there's a spot there for you to put a greeting in. Diane didn't see this fold either. Good. You find it harder to write on the back. Well, with this one, Donna, I think what you would be able to do is just kind of set it like this so that you can write, or you can write on it before you glue it down if you know who you're making it for and who you're sending it to. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some gems to this. And I thought what worked was the purple fine shimmer gems, that softest color of purple that's on there. I thought worked great on here. So I'm going to go ahead and put one in the center. Whoops. Didn't have that in there. Good. I'm going to put one there. We'll put one on our label here. And then any place where you've got a little bit of space, We'll add them. So I've got about 5 of them on there. All right, so there, I keep moving it up too high. I'm sorry about that. All right, so there is that one. We've got our matching envelope here. All right, let me show you the other ones that I did. So for my swap, this is what I did, but see how this looks exactly like what we did just a couple of weeks ago when we did this card right here. I'm like, I can't do the exact same thing I just did a couple of weeks ago. So I used that same paper that we did in that one. And it just has, you are remarkable in every single way. Friends are flowers in the garden of life. So this was my swap card. And then in my textured botanical textures, this was what we did. So we did thank you. Whoops. And so that one stands up like that. So this one uses those rectangular dies. Okay, and because we use the rectangular dies in card 1, I wanted to show you, you didn't have to do rectangles. You could do the arches as well and do this same fold where it stands up. I remember, I think it might have been Karen Roofing, who's on my team, said one time that she really tries to, when she's sending cards to people who are going through a difficult time, which is what this is she always likes to do something that is a little bit prettier that they could stand up and look at, because sometimes, you know, they're sitting all day because they don't feel well, they're sick, they might be in bed, they might be in a recliner, whatever the case might be. And to have something that's really pretty that they can actually stand up. So this stands up and it doesn't fall over because we made it so that the bottom stands and it pops out. Whoops, you're not seeing that because I have it up too high. Okay, so it actually stands up and looks like that. How pretty is that to keep looking at as a reminder that, first of all, somebody cares about them, and really, if all you do is survive today, that's okay. All right, so that is our second card. So we've got this fun fold, a couple of different versions of it. All right, and then we had our first fun fold that we did, okay, which was this one. And here we have a different color of it. And then my inspiration for that was a swap card that I received. I keep going up too high. I must have my camera back more today, because usually I have to go up there for you to see them, and today I don't. So there is your, hopefully some inspiration for you to try a different fun fold. So this one is probably a little bit easier. This one requires just a little bit more work, but really it's not that hard. It's just this little mechanism thing that you have to get stuck in there. This is just a W fold, and then that just sticks in there, and you line that up across the bottom. All right, so let me see here. Let me come back to you. I'm still here. Let's see, drag that over there. There we go. All right, I am back. So let's see, did I miss any comments? A lot of you were commenting, and I'm sorry. It's hard when I'm stamping to keep up with all the comments. You are very welcome, all of you that are saying thank you. This fun fold, I just fell in love with it. And so the swap that I was in had to be a spring card, and it had to be a fun fold. So I did this. And actually, the lady that runs the swap said, "Can you send me the dimensions for that?" She thought she had the inside figured out, but she was off by just a little bit. But I think with her dimensions, she probably could have made it work. But anyway, that is what I have for you today. Now, next week, I do have a card buffet. So that means when I do my live, I'm going to be doing my live a little bit later. So I probably won't be going live until about 1 or 1:30. I will let you know on the Friday before what time it is. It usually depends how many people I have signed up for my card buffet. So if I have a lot of people signed up, then what I will do a lot of times is I'll go a little bit later, because I know then it might take them a little bit longer. If I don't have as many people signed up for Saturday, then what I do is I sometimes start a little bit earlier, because if I only have 4 people here, they can usually get through pretty fast. But if I have 6 or I have 8 people here, it takes a little bit longer because you're sharing stamps and all of that kind of stuff. So I'll kind of play it by ear as the week goes on, and I will let you know on Friday what time to expect me. But you can always come back and you can watch the replay afterwards. So Thank you guys so much for joining me. I was so excited to get back to stamping. My mom sent me something. She goes, "Now don't spend all night in your stamp room. You need to spend time with Lila." So thankfully, I got that beautiful swap that I was able to kind of come up with my own version of it. And the other card I had done. So I said to her, I didn't go in my stamp room until about 5:45, and we got home about 3:30. So I didn't go into my stamp room until 5:45. I spent all that time with Lila. And then by about 6:45 or 6:45, I went in. And by 7:45, within an hour, I had that card done. But then I woke up this morning and realized that boho blue was out. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I've got to redo it. But there was another paper that I could use. And I just did the exact same card, just in a different color. So thank you guys so much. I will see you again next week. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope that you can find some time to be creative this weekend. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. And watch for those catalogs. If you order from me, and you should be getting one. If you haven't ordered from me but you need a catalog, please send me a message with your address and I will make sure that you get one. Thanks so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.